Good morning, everyone. Today is Monday, May the 19th, and we have yet another very active day in the weather department. In fact, just since Friday, we've already had 100 tornadoes have been reported, and today looks like yet another high impact day. This overall jet stream is racing across the plains today and is prime setup for significant severe weather across good part of Texas as well as into Oklahoma and into Kansas. Unfortunately, a lot of energy, it will be in the atmosphere. I mean, these CAPE values, your convective available potential energy in the atmosphere is over 5,000, folks. That is excessive. That is considered extreme and about 5 times your normal rate. So it's got a lot of fuel, and the updrafts are going to be cranking about 100 miles an hour. So that is significant. We saw some cloud tops down there in Texas yesterday that were approaching about 60,000 feet. And yes, you're going to be climbing to those levels, if not even a little bit higher later on this afternoon as things get going after the 1, 2, 3 o'clock time frame. And the significant tornado parameters are hitting really high, folks. It's pretty much off the charts. So it's right along into the northern portions of North Texas, Oklahoma, as well as into Kansas, and that pushes into Missouri as well as into Arkansas later into the evening time frame, because we've got today, and then the severe threat will push a little bit further off to the east tomorrow. But first and foremost, today, here is your tornado outlook, and we do have an upgraded moderate risk for mostly Oklahoma and Tulsa into the Oklahoma region, and an overall 15% chance, a hatched risk of seeing an EF2, a strong tornado, or if not even stronger than that. And some of these, unfortunately, could be even long tracks. So we've got, from Oklahoma to Tulsa under that moderate risk, that 15% hatched risk. Those areas in yellow all the way down to the Dallas-Fort Worth region that extends further into Springfield and points northward into portions of Missouri. As going into Kansas, they have that 10% hatched risk. So this is a very large area that could have the potential to see a strong tornado or two this afternoon. And then even further south in the brown area, that's your 5% chance within a 25-mile radius. And the green area, that is your 2%, but also significant hail. I mean, the atmosphere, obviously with a 100-mile-per-hour updraft, you've got the capability of producing some significant hail, and those could be on the variety of upwards to 3 inches. Is definitely not out of the question. Maybe even some isolated reports of softball size hail as well, right into the Oklahoma City region, southeastern Oklahoma, much of Tulsa. But even in this red shaded area, you still could get some significant hail, 2-inch plus diameter hailstones for those areas under that enhanced risk. And then even further south of Dallas-Fort Worth area could see some larger hail as well. So it's definitely a high impact day. And unfortunately, the atmosphere is going to be rotating at different levels. So a lot of shear out ahead of this. That's why we do have the high tornado parameters in place. And it could be one of those days we could be looking at a tornado outbreak if everything kind of comes together, which it does appear to do so into Kansas and Oklahoma. If we take a look at the latest guidance, some of your high resolution guidances, yes, there's going to be sporadic isolated activity likely start to bubble up towards that 1 o'clock time frame. They likely get a little bit more numerous as we approach the 5 and especially like the 6 o'clock time frame. It lights up like a Christmas tree further south into North Texas, much of Oklahoma, getting into Kansas, going into portions of Iowa, as well as into Missouri. It is another very volatile, high impact day. And especially if you're looking at some of your latest helicity tracks, this is where the atmosphere will likely be rotating the more significant. And yes, it's right there, of course, where we have that enhanced and moderate risk, but especially in southeastern Oklahoma, getting into central Oklahoma, central Kansas, as well as into Missouri. in northwestern Arkansas later into the evening time frame. And it doesn't end there, because obviously this continues to push off to the east, and now unfortunately it's going to set up shop across areas of Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, into Alabama. This is the last place you want to see it, because obviously these areas have been hit numerous times, especially Kentucky, and yet again they're kind of in that favored area, that 10% hatched risk within the Paducah region of seeing yet another strong, couple strong tornadoes, likely not as intense or as widespread, as numerous as probably what we're going to be seeing today across Kansas and Oklahoma, but still a likely another significant day. That would be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and this would be Tuesday. And once we were able to get past this, I think things at least somewhat settle down on the severe weather front. But we got to get past the next 2 days, and they're going to be high impact days. So if we expand over the next 48 hours and show you some of the latest, high resolution guidances and where some of these helicity tracks are very favorable for a lot of upward rising motion air, this is where the favored areas would likely be rotating, and also could leave some significant hail in its track as well, and also some significant wind gusts. So whenever these features start to bow out, you're going to get some of these destructive tags on them. 70, 80 mile per hour wind gusts is easily not out of the question with the dynamics that's going to be fueling these thunderstorms later today. So it's a fairly widespread event. I mean, you could be seeing some significant winds, not just across the southern and central plains, but even portions further north where the low pressure center will be lifting into Iowa, back into areas of even Illinois. Could see some stronger wind gusts. But overall, here's the radar depiction over the next 48 hours, and where you see those deeper, darker reds and obviously the purples, that is likely your most intense activity setting up across North Texas, much of Oklahoma and Tulsa points eastbound, and then as well as into Kansas, but especially there into Missouri, Arkansas, and as we go into tomorrow, that's going to feed into Illinois, back into Indiana again, and unfortunately there it is, then Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, and back into Alabama, pieces of Georgia, and then lighter activity as you swing heading into deeper into the day on going into Wednesday, further off to the Ohio Valley into the Northeast. But what's also going to be talking about is actually a cool down to the north. I mean, we got the warm sector, the cool air is going to, that cold front is going to continue to push a little bit further south. That's going to bring those 5, 10, 15 degrees below average temperature anomalies right into the heart of the Ohio Valley and back into the Northeast, while much of the South is going to continue to hang on to those warmer anomalies and going to be tapping into some of that energy. So as we head deeper into the day on Wednesday, it's likely not going to be terribly too severe, but still fairly volatile up here into Ohio, back into West Virginia, getting into the Pennsylvania region, points southbound into Virginia, along the coast as well, into DC, those areas into Delaware, back into New Jersey. That will be the day on Wednesday. And then look what happens on Thursday. So the cool front doesn't last long this time of year. As the atmosphere resets again, then it re-energizes itself, and this is Thursday, May 22nd time frame. You're back into the soupy air mass down there in Texas, unfortunately, and yet we have yet another kind of dry line type setup, setting up shop across West Texas, and we have a little bit more instability coming back into play. So that could be bringing some elevated showers back into some of those same areas across Texas and Oklahoma. Cooler air will filter in off some of the northwest flow with the cool front coming in, and then the big cool down that's going to be taking shape across the Northeast, with more of a chillier rain starting to unfold as we get during the day on Thursday. I mean, it's actually going to be cooling down fairly significant up there, folks. I mean, we're talking even some 40s and 50s for temperatures as we head into that Thursday and Friday, as a pretty significant cool down will be locked across that region, while much of the western regions are going to be seeing that ridge kind of take over and the dryness as well across the desert Southwest. But look at Thursday, folks. These are like afternoon temperatures, while much of the areas are across the South are draped into the 80s and 90s. It's going to be hard pressed to get out of the 40s up here across Pennsylvania into New York, getting into Vermont, New Hampshire, back into Connecticut, those areas in Massachusetts and to Maine. That is not going to feel like May by any stretch of the imagination if you're going to be feeling that cool down, and it's not likely going to go away anytime soon, as you got well below average temperature anomalies filtering in, even extending into your Memorial weekend and even beyond that. So this is an extensive cool down on the way for much of the eastern 2/3 of the US, while much of the western regions and the central regions hang on to those warmer, muggier type anomalies. And as we head back into the Memorial weekend coming up for this next weekend, yes, where the atmosphere is muggy and where you got the south wind, the southwest winds, that's going to pull some of that water vapor back over the same areas and going to produce some more showers and thunderstorms. And we're likely probably going to be seeing more possible severe weather coming back into play as well. While again, much of the desert Southwest will continue on the drier side, the Northwest regions continue on the wetter side, and then the cooler air will be a drier flow across much of the Great Lakes that pulls into portions of the Ohio Valley. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. I will be live later tracking these storms for you, likely after that 3 o'clock time frame. So be sure to stay tuned for that, where I protect you before and after the storm.